Good evening. You are watching the news from the Sultanate of Oman Television. First, the headlines. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq sends cables of condolences to the King of Belgium and the President of Germany on the victims of the floods and torrential rains that swept through their countries. The COVID-19 Supreme Committee decides to allow movement of individuals and vehicles and open some commercial activities in the Wilaya of Sur tomorrow and the day after due to the exceptional weather condition. Pilgrims gather at Mount Arafat to perform the greatest pillar of Hajj. And the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Investment Promotion stresses on the availability of the main commodities in all governorates of the Sultanate. Those were the headlines. Now for the news in detail. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq sent a cable of greetings to His Excellency President Ivan Duque Marquez of Colombia on his country's independence anniversary. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq sent 2 cables of condolences to His Majesty King Philip of Belgium and His Excellency President Dr. Frank Walter Steinmeier, President of Germany, on the victims of the floods and torrential rains that swept through their countries. The COVID-19 Supreme Committee followed the impacts of the weather condition in all governorates of the Sultanate in general and in the Wilaya of Sur in specific, along with the impacts on public property due to the heavy rains and overflowing wadis and the continuation of its impacts on a number of villages despite the tireless efforts of the bodies concerned. In order to return life to normal in the Wilaya of Sur, in contradiction with the approved precautionary measures to limit the spread of the pandemic, including closing of all commercial activities and banning movement of vehicles and individuals throughout the day during the blessed Eid al-Adha days, the committee decided to allow the movement of individuals and opening of foodstuff shops, bakeries, restaurants, building materials and electrical accessory shops and further selling shops in the Wilaya of Sur from 7 a.m. until 5 p.m. on Tuesday and Wednesday, the 20th and the 21st of July 2021. The committee also decided to allow various work teams to perform their duties in coordination with the Ministry of Social Development. May Allah the Almighty protect everyone from all harms. The Foreign Ministry also expressed the sympathy of the Sultanate with the Federal Republic of Germany and the Kingdoms of Belgium and Netherlands and the Grand Duchy of Luxembourg following the floods that have occurred recently. It expressed sincere condolences and sympathy to the governments and peoples of these friendly countries and to the families of the victims and wishes of speedy recovery for the injured. Pilgrims gathered at Mount Arafat in a spiritual movement, united in their prayers despite maintaining physical distance from each other due to the strict protocols and procedures this year due to the COVID-19 pandemic. More details in the following report.
The holy Mount Arafat welcomed around 60,000 pilgrims from the citizens and residents in Saudi Arabia, and performing the Hajj rituals is limited to the age category of 18 to 65 years of those who obtained the vaccine in accordance with the regulations and mechanism established in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for the categories of immunization. In Numaira Mosque, the pilgrims observed the sermon of Arafat Day, which called all Muslims to worship Allah and follow the concept of dialogue and tolerance, in addition to stay united and away from causes of disputes. Following the teaching of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, pilgrims performed the prayers of Al-Dhuhr and Al-Asr in one go with one adhan and 2 iqamas in Nimra Mosque. At dusk today, pilgrims started to flock to Muzdalifah, where they are to pray Maghrib and Isha prayers and collect pebbles to stone a set of walls. The pilgrims will slaughter their sacrifice tomorrow, the first day of Eid al-Adha. area, the pilgrim spends the Tarwiyah day in Mina under strict health guidelines, including performing prayers in small groups while maintaining a safe distance and fixing thermal cameras at doors and sanitizing the areas at a regular paces. Coinciding with this great day, the kiswa or the cloth covering the Kaaba was replaced with a new one, which is made with high-quality silk and gold threads. This shows the great attention and honor towards the holy site in the Masjid al-Haram or the Grand Mosque in Mecca.
The Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Investment Promotion affirmed that the main commodities are available in all governorates of the Sultanate. The ministry stated that it continues to exert efforts to monitor the markets and ensure the availability of main commodities and foodstuff in all the governorates around the Sultanate. The ministry called upon consumers to avoid overbuying and only buy the necessary commodities as shops, commercial centers and stores have enough consumer products. Oman oil price recorded a decline today by $1.84, amounting to $70.45 per barrel. The average price of Oman crude oil July delivery 2021 has stabilized at $66.40, thus $3.30 per barrel higher than June delivery 2021. International oil prices recorded a decline by over 1% due to OPEC Plus Group decision to increase oil production. The ministers of OPEC Plus Group reached a deal on Sunday to increase in oil production in August, ease oil prices, which jumped to the highest level in 2.5 years as economies around the world receive or recover after COVID-19 pandemic lockdowns. Brent crude price decreased by $2.01, amounting to $71.58 per barrel. U.S. crude oil also declined by $2.06, reaching $69.75 per barrel. The Royal Air Force of Oman, in coordination with the relief and shelter sector affiliated to the National Committee for Emergency Management this morning, managed a number of flights through its helicopters to the Souqa village in the Wilaya of Qurayat in the Governorate of Muscat to transport a number of citizens, foodstuff and consumer products in those affected areas with the support of the Royal Army of Oman. A technical team affiliated to the Mazoon Electricity Company was also transported to fix the electricity line after they were out of service due to the exceptional weather condition lately. Royal Oman Police exerts tireless efforts to deal with the weather condition and its diverse effects on the wilayas of the governorates of North Batna and South Sharqiyya. More details in the following report.
The subcommittees of the National Committee for Emergency Management are carrying on their duties to gather all efforts to handle the consequence of the recent tropical depression and its damage, as well as providing the necessary aid for the damaged categories. Early this morning, 3 families with a total of 17 people in Wilayat of Suhar in Faraj al-Qabail had been evacuated as a result of water flowing into their houses. The relief and shelter sector of northern Al-Batna Governorate maintained the essential locations for those families and beside following up their conditions. The sector had also managed to contain 40 families consisting of 290 people in total with the necessary shelter and substance. Beside, the relief and shelter sector of southern Al-Sharqiyya managed to contain 90 families with 105 people in total, caused by an encounter with overflow wadis. The service sector had also responded to aid the water shortage caused by damage to the main line of water supply in Wilayat of Sur, with the involvement of Royal Army Force, Royal Oman Police, and Civil Defense and Ambulance Authority. ROP and Civil Defense and Ambulance Authority had managed to deal successfully with 7 reports of erosion and people being trapped inside their vehicles in different wilayas of northern Al-Batna. The field search teams of ROP and Civil Defense and ambulance authority are continuing to search for two missing citizens after a successful attempt to find two Asian residents this morning, resulting from a wadi overflow in Wilayat of Sur and Ja'lan Bani Bu Ali in Governorate of Southern Al-Sharqiyya. Likewise, police aviation helicopters are deployed in both governorates of Southern Al-Sharqiyya and Northern Al-Batina to provide the necessary assistance and to perform rescue and search operations. This is First Lieutenant Saeed bin Salim al-Mhirzi, Governorate of Muscat.
4 days have passed and the main roads, expressways and residential streets in the Governorate of Muscat remained almost quiet and empty from vehicles and people from 5 p.m. to 4 a.m. along with some other governorates. More details in the following report.
4 days have passed and the main roads, expressways and residential streets in the Governorate of Muscat remained almost quiet and empty from 5 p.m. to 4 a.m. along with other governorates. The partial lockdown appeared to be well observed. All commercial establishments, including shopping malls and restaurants, remained closed during the curfew hours, with a total ban on people and vehicle movement. From tomorrow, 20th of July, the first day of Eid, up to the last day of Eid, there will be total lockdown. This restriction aimed at stopping the spread of the coronavirus. As the total number of coronavirus cases in Oman continues to increase, the government have taken all necessary measures to restrict the virus from spreading without inflicting too much damage on Oman's economy. A lockdown has been imposed in almost all parts of the country to limit the spread of the virus by restricting movements and practicing social distancing and other preventive methods, including vaccination. Regarding total curfew during Eid days, the Royal Oman Police will take all essential measures to ensure strict enforcement and checkpoints to control the movement between governorates. Efforts will be exerted to ensure that smooth passage for emergency cases.
As Eid is approaching, there is no doubt that the joy of Eid from keeping a distance will be sufficient to prevent the coronavirus and to reduce pressure to the healthcare workers. Here are some general messages for this occasion.
As we all know, we are celebrating Eid at the comfort of our own homes. Stay safe, stay healthy, and enjoy quality time with your family.
With no doubt that we can spread the joy of Eid from a distance.
By sharing Eid wishes, prayers, and much, much more with friends and family members.
Eid Mubarak. Stay safe at home with the family.
Happy to you all. Stick to precautionary measures to stay safe and healthy.
A large number of COVID-19 patients end up in health institutions, causing pressure to the healthcare system. Let's reduce that pressure by sticking to the preventive measures.
The COVID-19 pandemic has spotted the critical role that nurses and other health workers play in protecting people's health and saving lives. Being one of the nurse leaders at the Ministry of Health, where I'm in direct contact with colleagues around Oman's COVID-19 units, following and liaising teams of nurses in those units. Throughout my time, I have been witnessing every single day the courage, skill, and dedication of nurses and other healthcare workers as they serve bravely on the front lines of the COVID-19 pandemic. This pandemic that caused devastated time for everyone around the world and challenging time to the healthcare workers and for nurses in particular.
Truly, there is no words of appreciation and thanks can be expressed for their value, dedication, commitment, and hard work.
The support and care you provide are powerful than medicine because they come with compassion and kindness. Your determination to save lives never goes unnoticed.
Dear citizens and residents, Eid is being observed at this time amid the coronavirus pandemic, and the cases are rising. For your safety, the safety of your loved ones, and all of us here in the Sultanate, you need to spend your time for Eid in your own home with your family.
Still to come in our news bulletin. Mexico's oldest circus returns after lockdown. Welcome back to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. Iran today announced strict curbs in the capital, Tehran, and a nearby province to stem the spread of COVID-19 as daily infections drew close to an all-time high. President Hassan Rouhani had earlier this month warned of a fifth wave because of an outbreak of the highly contagious Delta variant in the Middle East's hardest hit country. Government offices and banks in Tehran and Al-Borz provinces are set to close from 6 p.m. local time until next Monday morning. The restrictions also include a ban on car travel to and from the two provinces and a new shutdown of high-risk businesses across Iran's worst-hit areas. The new measures coincide with the Eid al-Adha holiday celebrated in the Islamic Republic on Wednesday. COVID-19 has killed more than 87,370 people from upwards of 3.5 million infections in Iran. In the past 24 hours, the country officially recorded 25,441 new cases, close to the record 25,582 reached on April 14th. Strangled by U.S. sanctions that have made it difficult to transfer money to foreign firms, Iran says it is struggling to import vaccines for its population of 83 million. This morning rush hour at London Bridge saw a large number of commuters still wearing face masks despite England's coronavirus regulations being relaxed on what has been dubbed Freedom Day. Mask wearing on trains is now a personal choice rather than a mandatory requirement. On the London Underground and on buses, the Mayor of London has stepped in to keep the face covering requirement. Social distancing rules are also shelved, while there are no limits on the number of people attending theatre performances or big events. The big step out of lockdown was met with concern from scientists who say the UK is entering uncharted waters by opening up when infections are not falling but soaring. Wildfires still threaten dozens of towns across both Russia's northern regions and Siberia as efforts by regional and federal authorities to stop their spread continue today. Russia has been plagued by widespread forest fires blamed on unusually high temperatures and the neglect of fire safety rules, with the Sakha-Yakutia region in northeastern Siberia being the worst affected region. Around 190 fires raged in the region today. Smoke from the fires covered 60 towns, settlements and cities in the region, including the capital, Yakutsk. Russia's emergency ministry had deployed two amphibious aircraft to the heavily hit Gorny district of Yakutia to help tackle the fires. More than 2,200 people are involved in the region's firefighting efforts. The show must go on at Mexico's oldest circus, with Circo Ataide Hermano returning to the ring last Friday after being shut due to the coronavirus pandemic. Circus fans were disinfected before entering the big top with the combination of face masks and fun part of post-lockdown new normal. Circo Ataide Hermano is one of Mexico's most popular circuses. Its run of shows started in 1888, but the COVID-19 pandemic forced the acrobatic troupe to bring its operations to a lengthy halt. This is the Sultanate of Oman television. Before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main headlines once again. His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq sends cables of condolences to the King of Belgium and the President of Germany on the victims of the floods and torrential rains that swept through their countries. The COVID-19 Supreme Committee decides to allow movement of individuals and vehicles and open some commercial activities in the Wilaya of Sur tomorrow and the day after due to the exceptional weather condition. Pilgrims gather at Mount Arafat to perform the greatest pillar of Hajj. And the Ministry of Commerce, Industry and Investment Promotion stresses on the availability of the main commodities in all governorates of the Sultanate. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news bulletin. From all of us here at the newsroom and the studios, it's good night, stay safe, and Eid Mubarak.